small nutshell out there. Approximately 70 plus thousand categories we have created, 5,000 plus brands, 30 billion products, 10 billion visits per day, 8 billion shipments per month. So that is in a nutshell what we can talk about what we've done in the last 8 odd years. Coming to risk, why we are talking about risk only, what's at risk actually. So if we see the worldwide figures, approximately $700 billion is the amount of sales which is going to happen at a global level only from e-commerce. And I'm talking that amount by the end of 2016. If we talk, only for the APAC part is going to be 700 plus US billion. And that's a lot of money which is at risk. If we go only India specific, that amount changes to around 56 billion by 2023. And that is the reason I think it's a big deal why risk has to be addressed. This is the scope of risk at every part of e-commerce. These are few of the key parameters which governs the entire e-commerce chain. Whether it is mobile commerce, whether it is supply chain, whether it's inventory management systems, whatever you talk about, any of these things, or they are all the levels which are running parallel to each other. If any of these is even stopped, even one of them, the whole shipment delivery to the customer or making a simple order would come to a stop, would come to a halt. So that is the reason each part is highly crucial from a risk perspective. If we look only to the point number 3, which is supply chain management, what is the risk in that part? I'd like to just move ahead with that. So the key risk in supply chain, as we already know, it could be terrorism, cybercrime, it could be lost cargo, counterfeits, sabotage, fraud, one of the most critical ones, and so on. Now, as early as before 9/11, as we all know, security was taken as for granted. But once 9/11 took place, everybody understood that the entire supply chain can actually be completely jeopardized if the security risk is not properly addressed. So this is what we also follow. We identify, prioritize, and mitigate. Now, many of the companies actually are unable to even identify the risks. So that is the step 1. If you are able to identify the risk, step 2 comes to prioritize it. So it is a 3-step process and it is a time-taking process. It cannot be done overnight. But then it is required that the start has to be there. If you have to identify, prioritize, and then mitigate it. So these are the few other pillars which we see. Customers for us are the key things. So to ensure any business objective that the customer is happy. So to ensure that, we see to it from the beginning when a warehouse or a logistics setup is being done, in the design itself the security has to be inbuilt. The moment you do that, you are de-risking yourself from a lot of futuristic risk which is going to come up. At the same time, if you are planning properly from the design phase, you can push in a lot of capex and reduce your opex in future, which majority of the management immediately agree to. If you are going to do this at a later phase, you're going to have major issues, to push in that OPEX again and again, and then, asking for more money from your management to run the show of security. So these are few of the principles which we all follow more or less at a very common level. That's the onion ring security model, or basically the basic process of risk mitigation under C3 or CP10, security by So more or less all of these we follow in a routine in the entire supply chain and line haul of Flipkart. We follow the 3 P's and the 3 D's, that the physical, the psychological, and the procedural part of security, and the deter, detect, and the delay part. These are the basic principles, but they work a lot when we use it actually in the supply chain part. So I'm going to take a quick case study only on one of the risks which I'm taking up. If I talk of the whole risk part of supply chain, is a big, vast subject. So I'm taking one of the parts which is fraud, because it is one of the things which is the key part which hits your bottom line. And for Flipkart, it is one of the key threats which we deal with day in, day out, and you can say 24/7 or 365 days a year. So what's fraud all about? So this is what it's all about. A criminal who wants to do fraud is basically the age group of 11 years to 60 odd years. Could be a male, female. Doesn't necessarily have to have a occupation. Could be a housewife. Many of them who we have got also in the past, they have come out with points like, I was bored so I did that fraud, or something I didn't think I did ever get caught. These were some of the things which we got from them. So basically the way I see it going ahead is this something like a cyber shoplifting, which is actually emerging very fast. So what kind of, how do they do these orders? How does the fraudster order look like? So it's like a late night order usually. So before I go and emphasize a little more quickly, these facts are taken from approximately more than lakhs and lakhs of orders of fraud which we have identified in the last 5-6 years. So that data we have collated, and from that we have created this kind of a gist how a fraud order actually looks like. And so this is coming from a specific data, it's not hypothetical. So basically it is usually placed in the night. It could be a free or anonymous email service. Express shipping is what they ask for. High quality order, quantity order. So for example, a person is asking for 10 mobiles. I as a person, if my mobile breaks, I'll order one. If I'm asking for 10 mobiles, that's a question mark. Just an example so for you to understand. If I'm staying, let's say in Bombay, I place an order for Delhi, so that becomes a flag for me. It's an odd address, road number 24 in front of PVR cinema. That's what our address. But that's how it comes. And they actually do it, and it's happening till date. And this is what are the riders for us to understand that this is where this order is at risk, and we actually don't got to go and stop it or take a call basis the histories. The next slide will give more emphasis to what I'm trying to say. We do a lot of data analytics. So basically the same telephone number or the cell number we use again and again, or the beneficiary account number, that becomes a very critical role. So for example, I'm prepaying or I'm saying through my debit card or a credit card, I'm paying for the order from before I place it, before I receive it. That account number gets registered with us. How many people, so let's say today I place an order as Gaurav, tomorrow I may place it as Rahul, day after I may put it as Sandeep with different email IDs, but finally my cell number or my account number more or less will remain the same. You cannot go on creating multiple PAN cards or go on opening multiple accounts. That's not very easy. So they use the same cell numbers or the same bank account number, and that is where we catch. And that is the crux how to get to the risk part of fraud. So data analytics, the reason it is in red, that's where the majority of the fraud is identified. The risk is over there. If the data analytic part is strong enough to give us that backup, yes, this is a fraud. So even we stop those orders even before it leaves our warehouse. We are almost 100% sure that this order is at risk and it is heading for a fraudster. We are that certain about it. So the customer, of course, many times comes to a challenge, but we take care of it. We take help of the law enforcement. If I talk last 6 months data from Jan to June 2016 alone, we must have done 100+ FIRs at least. And this covers whether it is sellers, whether it is customers, or even our employees who have, at some point of time put Flipkart at risk by doing the fraud. So, sorry, yeah. So this is how the counter attack takes place. This is backed up by a big team which is sitting at the back end, and day in day out they are just working on this analytics. If there are, let's say, 1 billion orders placed per day, all the 1 billion orders will go through an algorithm and they will be scrutinized. And that is where it actually tells whether this is an order good to go, is it a green order or an orange order or a red order. Orange is, there's a question mark, we are not pretty sure. So we put it to further scrutiny, wherein we find the past history, who is the customer, how many orders he's placed, what kind of orders, how many returns has he done. So that's where the majority of the fraud takes place. So it's like I order a phone today and I don't like it, so I can give it back, and Flipkart will take it back. But what if I'm a fraudster and while returning it, I remove the phone and put a stone or a soap bar or something and seal it very nicely and send it back? So that's where fraud takes place. That is a very, very crucial part where maximum amount of fraud happens. So though they could be successful at 1 or 2 times, however, then we have our own methodologies to track them back and catch them. But then we work more towards how we can stop it before the fraud actually happens. And that's where our key focus is right now. And over the past 1.5 odd years, I can probably say that we have done major breakthroughs in this part and actually held up majority of the orders. If I say talk about some kind of figures, between Jan to June 2016, approximately 30 plus crores out of orders we have stopped from only loss prevention or identifying that this is a risk where it is going. These are three, trying to basically let you know how kind of frauds are there. So it can be seller frauds, market frauds, customer fraud, FD fraud. FD is basically the field executive who brings the order right up to you. And RTO fraud is the return fraud and so on. So there's a high level which goes on and we monitor each and every part of this risk. Two ways to approach it, reactive as well as proactive. So both methodologies we work on, depends on at which part the risk or the fraud has been identified. The reactive is that the order is already delivered to a particular customer and we come to know that a fraud has taken place or risk has happened. We come to know through the hotline or somebody writes to us on the email. We'll start an investigation protocol, we'll bring in the law enforcement at the right level, get FIR done if need be, and from there on catch the fraudster, get the recovery done and close that particular investigation. The other approach is we do a proactive thing, wherein for the data analytics which I spoke about earlier, that plays a majority of the key role. Wherein buyer analytics, that's the seller from whom you're buying on the portal, or the seller, the FE, the customer center, where we operate from. All these analytics are finally going to another central tool where another algorithm is run. And this actually reads each and every order, where is what happening, who's trying to do something wrong, or everything is running clean. If even one point of check is found red or gets flagged by the algorithm, it is immediately separated for a further scrutiny through a person. So till now it is happening tech driven, it's completely technology driven, it's not somebody has to actually see each and every order. No. So it's running by its own. But the moment it gets flagged, it comes to a particular individual who starts reading the history, starts to understand what is the issue, why the system actually shortlisted it for a further scrutiny, and that is where we start the study. Then the control actions takes place where we blacklist the customer, or we understand that he's basically a fraudster or a seller, we blacklist the seller also. Our internal policies are so strong that we will not leave them. Even if we have to go right behind them with the law enforcement, we do that. Because if the reputation of the entire company is at risk out here. And then finally, whatever was the fraud done, the way it was handled, what could be the futuristic preventive methods we can deploy so that that particular type of fraud or risk can be mitigated is put into force. So this is an ongoing and a continuous process which goes on and on and on, day in, day out. So how do we do it? We have a strong team of approximately 70 odd security and investigations team. They are on roll. They work all the time, 24/7, and they are on the job. So before I call it, because I have only 15 minutes given to me, this is the recommendation I would like to put forward before I close my presentation. So let's say a fraudster has done a fraud with Flipkart. I have found that there's a guy called Sandeep who's done fraud with Flipkart, and I have all of his data. I should share it with the other e-commerce or the other industry partners, let's say Amazon or Snapdeal or whoever, let's say XYZ. And vice versa, let's say Amazon, Alibaba or anybody of them identify that somebody called Rahul did fraud over there. They share their data with me. And we have a line where all of us are talking to each other on a single grid and sharing a fraudster's data. So then this guy cannot do any more risk, or it's not a risk to any other e-com company going ahead. So basically, how the modus operandi is, If a guy has done fraud with me, I catch him, we go to the next. He catches him, he still goes to the next. And they'll keep on, changing their data, their PAN number, their account details, their phone, because everything is new for that agency, for their agencies placing the first or the fresh order. That's how it works. That's the modus operandi. So if we come on a common grid to discuss all these kinds of fraud, I think there's no way that they can run to. I mean, they have to finally get either absorbed by the law enforcement or they'll be neutralized by default. That's all. A few of the newspaper cuttings of the last odds we got. We are just kind of highlighting on the second last slide up there. And we all are here basically to target risk. That's what it's all about. Thank you. Any good questions?
Go to the previous slide, before one slide before. So you are telling this is your suggestion or you already implemented this across your?
So this is not implemented, this is a suggestion. So just to give you a heads up on that again. About a month back I had given a similar presentation on a different topic in security again. In the same presentation there was an IAS officer from the government sitting out there. And the same recommendation I placed out there also. They had taken it up immediately. They said, okay, we would like to actually work with you and make this a particular policy. If this becomes a government policy, well, that is the only way to ensure that this happens. Because Flipkart, Snapdeal, Amazon or XYZ, someone has to actually make that initiative, to come on the common ground and ask everybody to come and share that data. It will not happen by default. Maybe it may, unless people start talking or thinking about it. But then I had already made this recommendation to the government agencies and they took it positively and they're thinking that we should actually do this.
This is a very good suggestion, but you don't have any e-commerce partner association, nothing is common like that?
No, nothing is common on the security or the risk part doesn't exist as on date. So that is the reason I have been putting it in the forums wherever I'm going.
And being the leader in this business, you can start this.
Yeah, so there is some work going on, and so this is the last presentation I gave after our talk with government agencies. They have also asked us to start. So we are already working on formulating a policy around it, which the government is going to scrutinize, and then they're going to circulate to everybody, make it a proper policy to be followed on a routine basis.
One last question. You are telling the fraud happening. Where is your loss? Either you are shipping after payment or you are delivering by taking the cash. So where fraud is happening? Where is the financial loss for you?
See, the moment fraud has happened, the loss has occurred. So there are multiple ways for it to be. A, there is a COD, that is cash on delivery.
Correct.
So let's say I have placed an order for a cell phone. The cell phone comes to me, I pay the cash.
Correct.
But how the fraud will happen? I'll call the customer care again, saying that the parcel I have received doesn't have a phone, but it has a soap bar, or it has a stone inside, or it is completely empty. So that is where the first point of fraud starts. If I am a genuine customer, I will not do this. If the order is perfectly fine. But if I am a fraudster, I will do that. And keeping the customer, in good faith, we will respect that he is a genuine customer. He's made a right point to us, and we will always see to it that it is replaced immediately. However, at the back end, me and my team start the work that if an empty parcel or a stone or a soap bar has been found, how did it get in? What is the history of this customer? Is the customer a fraud, or did it fraud actually happen in the line haul and the logistic or the supply chain part? Or is it the seller who actually started, where the first shipment started happened somewhere out there? So this is the whole investigation which starts the moment a fraud is actually understood.
Gaurav, have you ever found the fraud happening in the supply chain?
Yeah, absolutely, multiple times. So that's the reason. So earlier cycle I showed, every point of supply chain is available for a risk or a fraud, or it's available for any kind of fraud.
No, my question was, if so, where exactly, and is there a data which you can say at this particular point it is most often happening?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a data trend which says maximum of amount of fraud is happening in the last mile, or it is happening in the warehouse, or it is happening in the seller. We know how much amount of fraud is happening in which part or which leg of the supply chain.
Which one of the three is the highest?
Last mile.
The last mile.
Last mile. Last mile is always the most critical, because that's where the shipment is being taken care of one person.
True.
It is me who is the person, if I am the wish master or the person who is going to take this mobile and bring it to you as a customer, it is me alone who is working with with the parcel. So I am the one who has the maximum amount of opportunity which is available to me to take care of that shipment.
So if you identify it's happening the last mile,
Yeah.
any major qualifications or maybe the internal decisions you have taken to see that it's been controlled?
So last mile is a location where we continuously keep doing innovation to see to it that how we can bring down the amount of fraud. If I talk of last mile, the few figures, if I talk 2 years ago, if there were, I'm not giving true figures, I can't do that. So let's say if there were 100 odd orders which were available for doing a fraud in the last mile about 2 years ago. Today it has already come down to less than 60 because of the few specific strategic changes here. So we are still working on 5 or 6 more projects specifically dedicated to last mile, wherein we can definitely ensure that at least 80% of the existing fraud can be stopped. However, it is required to understand that how much of delay will it cost for that shipment to reach the customer, because customer is the primary focus. If I introduce one small process which is going to take, let's say, only 3 minutes of additional security protocol, but the final impact by the time it reaches the customer could go increase by 1 day or maybe half an hour or 2 hours. So all those logistics also need to be seen. We have the most stringent protocols available to ensure that this product is 100% correct. But the moment we do that, the time taken for the shipment to reach the customer is going to be so high, the customer will buy to take from here, I'll go and take it from the market, or I'll take it from the competitor. So that is where the critical question comes. So we are trying to work on methodologies which could be faster. At the same time, it will also ensure that the product is safe. So there are few critical things which I cannot name right now, I'm really sorry. But then these are already under a pilot stage. This is what I can share. If it runs properly through October and November, it will be enforced.
But Gaurav, just one question. At the origin, can't you put them through X-rays to ensure that there is a product inside?
Yeah, so X-rays we have also already thought of, and we have initiated at 1 or 2 odd locations as a pilot. The risk is, so the part is pretty good. So let's say I have a shipment of cell phone going through.
Yes.
I put it through the scanner, I can see there is a mobile phone.
Okay.
I can see the charger and a headphone and all the accessories going through it.
Okay.
But let's say I've ordered for a Samsung phone.
Yeah.
And what if a Nokia, the base thing is going, I cannot make a differentiation in that. Because there is always another secondary chance of counterfeit. That is another risk of supply chain which is running parallel along with this different risks. However, however, we are working on how many of these X-rays can actually be helpful. That's another pilot running simultaneously on that. Yeah.
Let's say you put it in the memory for 7 days, and the guy at the end says it's a stone. You can match it up and say no, it wasn't a stone. At least there was some semblance of it.
Absolutely, what you're saying is pretty correct. But then, just to understand, there are like 10 million odd orders going on and on and on and on and on. And with that, if 3 orders are out, we find a soap or a stone, we have to actually track back. It's a time taking process, however we reach out to it. Even today, majority of the locations we don't have the X-ray machines, but we still are able to go and pinpoint that this is the point where the fraud actually took place. So that we have set processes through algorithms through which we catch that. But however, we are already working on the X-ray part. So to give an example, we have already initiated in JNK, which is by default one of the code red areas of India.
Yeah.
Because over there the risk is not of stone or empty or something else. We are suspecting that after it reaches a customer, what if he's a terrorist and he sends it back and I have got to cancel, and instead of the cell phone he puts a bloody bomb and sends it back, and we open my whole house only explodes. So the risk over there is totally different depending on the geographical location. However, we are working on putting an X-ray machine. We have put an X-ray machine. So while in wording itself, we do a X-ray check before taking the shipment back.
Is the last mile operation done by direct employee or outsourced?
So we have both the models. So it is done by third party also, and we have offloads and Flipkart also. Does the lady wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I have a recent case wherein some of online shopping, something was being showed and something, some other product was being delivered to me.
Okay.
So now how do you categorize this one?
So this is all fraud. It's a part of the risk that supply chain goes through. So so what I actually understood, you ordered something and something else came. This is what happened. Am I understanding it correctly?
Yeah, correct.
So what happens is, I order a cell phone, and let's say that's the example I order a Samsung J7 latest model 2016 one, and a Nokia baseline comes to me. This is a typical example which happens. I'm not saying this doesn't, it happens. But then this is where the fraud happens. Either the seller is a fraudster. So seller is basically, when you select a product, it shows an option of about 5-6 people who are selling that product. It could be WSR, which is a Flipkart owned seller. It could be a seller who is like Om Shanti cell phones or whoever. And it depends which seller you're picking up from. What kind of background he has. So we have an internal BGV check we do for all sellers. However, once the shipment is moving out, either the seller is okay but his team is a fraudster. After it left the seller's point, the vehicle which is bringing it from the seller's shop to my hub, is it something happening there? Or is it happening inside the warehouse? Or after the warehouse come to the mother hub or the last mile, is it happening there? Or the person who is actually delivering to you, he's done it. Or the customer who has received it, he has received the original and he has told no, I have received it. So all this is a big chain of possible fraud and risk at every step. But then what you're saying is very much possible. I hope you have raised it with the customer care.
I have already raised, and also by other surprise, the seller also called me.
Yeah.
Saying that he has received the feedback and all, and some replacement is going to be. But as of now, so far not received anything. But yes.
So in case you need my help, just let me know.
I have a point. Many a times when I receive the material from Flipkart, I prefer to see it. When they ask, can I open it?
Yeah.
Most of the delivery guys say, sorry, we won't do it. You
Yeah.
have to go. Right? And suppose at this point of, at this particular point, if I'm the genuine buyer and I open it and see that that is my product, then there is a product. Right?
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
But for you also, later on there is no scope of somebody saying I have found this product.
No, so this is a pretty, to be honest, that's what I addressed earlier. This happens. I could be a very genuine customer or a buyer from Flipkart. I ordered a cell phone and I actually opened something. It's completely empty. Forget a stone or a soap. It's empty. I am going to still raise it to my customer care, saying that I got an empty box. There will be an investigation run at the back end, and either your entire money comes back to you or a replacement will be sent. This will happen with each and every customer. We will take it for granted that the customer is genuine. We have to give it back, unless the data analytic part which I spoke about, which says there is a history around this customer, or he's a very high return. He has ordered maybe 100 cell phones and returned all the 100. That's a question mark for us. So the algorithm or the data will tell us that this customer has raised a concern, how genuine or how